Welcome to another episode of BRB Building Your Brand with Stepf Sky. We probably should start by discussing the elephant in the room, our current recording studio. We weren't able to be together today.
In our last episode, we had talked about organic social media and how you could still find your place on these platforms without paying to play. So today we're going to talk about marketing on a budget and how there's plenty of resources available for you to try for free or at minimal costs for getting your small businesses up and running.
Yes. But first, there are a few things that we just need to air some laundry, I guess, at the moment. So in our last episode, you probably noticed we had a little bit of a microphone meltdown. That was fun, right, Sky?
Yes, we had to record the ending probably like 4 times, so that was great.
It was fabulous.
You probably noticed that it got dark in the room by the time we finished that, and our wine glasses may have been empty, but
Yes, I guess that's what we get for buying $8 microphones off of TikTok shop. So
yes, so don't recommend those.
no. And then some other things we just got to get off of our chest. Okay, this is not related to our podcast in any way. It's just things that we see in everyday life. So first things first, let's talk about emoji overuse. Is it confusing, amusing, attention grabbing? I need someone to explain to me why it throws me into a rage when I'm trying to read a post and there is an emoji in between every single word.
Yes.
So
I think that's terrible. I think 1 or 2 emojis tops, and not in every post. Just sprinkled in here and there is okay, but I can't stand it either.
It drives me absolutely nuts. So if you do this, stop doing this.
Yes.
Stop. I think as part of that too is like the whole Chat GPT thing. So we know you're using it, especially with the emojis. There's so much overuse.
Leads us into that point is Chat GPT and emojis, because you just know right away that that's what they're using.
You do. I mean, let's think of those keywords. These trigger me so bad. Elevate, ultimate, embark, delve, realm, epitome. There's so many more, but we know.
Yes. I think it's definitely a helpful tool, obviously, to get inspiration from, but don't just copy and paste it, because you can totally tell if you're using it then.
I agree. I think that honestly, we could probably do a whole episode discussing Chat GPT and other AI tools just because people see them as convenient, but they don't know how to use them. So we should probably keep an eye out for that episode in the future.
I actually just saw that there's a country song that they used AI to like finish the song. And so it's kind of like a big topic right now in country music, which I think is interesting. So
that is interesting. I mean, I've seen too, like people are using it to write books.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary.
It is a little. So we're going to come back to this topic because there's so much we could say.
Yes. Another thing that we have to get off our chest is YouTube dislikes. Why is this still a thing? I don't really know if it shows other people that we got dislikes, but it shows us. And recently on our YouTube shorts, we've gotten a few dislikes, and I don't like it. I feel like we're just being judged, but I don't know.
Yes.
I think that it's to understand your algorithm better. Like that's why they still have it, but I'm not entirely sure. But I just really don't like it.
I'm not a huge fan. Need that to go away. Although I will say that for the longest time, I had assumed that by hitting the dislike button, that meant that it wouldn't show videos like that in your algorithm anymore. But instead, it's actually just making that percentage score go down for that video for that user. So sorry to anyone I've done that to.
Yes.
And shame on you to whoever did that to us.
Yes. I think there's 2 people that did it, so rude.
Rude, just absolutely rude. But it's fine. So yes, now let's move on to the topic at hand. So marketing on a budget. We at SKC Creative focus mainly on assisting your small businesses. And while we always recommend having a marketing budget in place, we know it's not necessarily always possible, which is why we like to educate our clients and now you about resources that can be used to achieve some level of marketing on your own. So I think the first thing is really just talking about embracing social media, but strategically. So Sky, this is your domain. You want to dive into this one?
Yes. So we had talked about organic social media a lot in the last episode, specifically Facebook, which is a great starting point for many service or product-based businesses. So if you haven't checked that episode out, be sure to do that. But a few things that you may want to note with different social media platforms is you don't need to be on every platform. So we had definitely talked about this in last episode, but every platform doesn't make sense for your business. So think of your target audience and where they're most likely to hang out.
What works for one business isn't necessarily going to work for yours, even, if you're in the same industry. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind there. A lot of people assume because they see somebody who's their competitor on one platform, yes, of course you should have a presence there, but it really is going to come down to consistency in the content that you're putting out as to, what's going to work for you.
Yeah, it's super important to be consistent. So once you establish a routine, make sure you try and stick to that moving forward. And it depends on the platform of how much you should be posting. So for Facebook, a lot of times they say like 1 to 2 times per day, but we think depending on the size of your audience, 2 to 5 posts per week and 2 to 7 stories per week is, a more adequate number. For Instagram, they say 2 feed posts per week, 3 stories per week with accounts 10K or less, 3 feed posts per week with 4 stories per week on accounts with 10K to 100K, and then 5 feed posts per week with 15 stories per week on accounts with 100K to 500K. And we would actually have to agree with this one.
Not everyone's going to see stuff at the same time. Say, for example, you're using Metricool or Later, it might tell you that the best posting time is, I don't know, let's say 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. Well, you're also going to need to post other times too, because you have such a large audience that you have to find ways to engage with them. They're not all going to be on there at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
A lot of this goes back to how many social platforms aren't prioritizing business page posts in the same capacity that they did in previous years, which obviously results in lower visibility.
Yeah, I would agree. The biggest concern here too comes down to that sometimes less is more. If you're just posting to post and aren't actually creating content that's engaging or giving a clear call to action, then you're doing all that work for pretty much nothing. So, plus you can be annoying to your audience. So I think it's really just finding this balance and figuring out what works. And not every social platform is going to work for you, and that's okay. And not every posting schedule is going to work for you, and that's okay. You're a small business. You don't necessarily have time to post all the time, but again, these are just guidelines and our thoughts, and everyone has a little bit of a different thought on these anyways.
So going over some more of the platforms, they say 2 to 5 times per week for LinkedIn. We agree with this one too. According to LinkedIn, companies that post weekly will see a 2% lift in engagement with their content. And from experience, we find this to be true. Not only aim for 4 to 5 times per week if the content is engaging, but you can also do 2 to 3 posts and it will still help you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is a great place to be. We talked about this before, primarily, business to business, but business to consumer as well. And if you have the connections there already, it definitely will help you continue to build that as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with LinkedIn. It's just knowing how to do it and how much you want to put out there for people. But either way, I think you can grow on that platform regardless of how much you're actually posting.
Yes. For Twitter, we had talked about this in the last episode. This necessarily doesn't work for everyone, but they say 1 to 2 times per day, and we say this is pretty accurate. You need to post frequently to not get lost in the feed, but if this isn't realistic, then aim for 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah, that can be a lot, trying to post 1 to 2 times a day, and a lot of people are like, well, what do I post about?
Yes.
So it can be difficult.
Yep. And TikTok, they say 4 to 8 times per day. We say posting at least 1 time each day is great because the algorithm tends to reward those who publish more, but we know that that's not necessarily realistic. So we'd recommend starting at 2 to 4 times per week.
Yeah, I think even just getting one post out there a week is great. Good for you if you're able to do that. But 2 to 4, I think it's a good little sweet spot there. Obviously, you can build upon that as time goes on.
Agree. And YouTube, they say at least 3 times per month for long form videos and at least 2 to 3 times per day for shorts. So we'd say at least 2 to 3 times per month for long form videos and at least 3 times for shorts per week.
I think that goes back to the same thing as TikTok, as you're
Yep.
able to build upon it and have more content, then you're able to put more out.
Yep. Agree.
And
Pinterest, do you want to say something?
no, you can go.
Okay. Pinterest, they say 4 to 5 times per week, and we say at least 1 time per week.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think that that's a good spot, especially as you're getting started. Obviously, you can get lost in the feed on there, but I have pins from 4 years ago that people are still finding now. So
Mm-hmm. And Google Business Profile, they say at least 1 time per week, and we say at least 1 to 2 times per month.
yes, and I think a lot of people get confused about what exactly this means. This could be something as simple as posting updated photos for when people are Google searching and they come upon your business through, a quick search. Just having photos there that they can reference, whether it's a product that you offer or, the result of a service that you provided. I think just having refreshed content is great for your visibility there.
Yeah, agree.
Yes. And, while posting consistently is great, engaging with your audience is also very important. I feel like a lot of people tend to forget about the side of it. They assume that they can just post and go off and everything is good. But if there are people that are commenting on your posts, be sure to respond back to them. I think that this mainly refers to social media, but don't forget to respond back to the reviews you receive on Google as well. A lot of people are not responding to those, and it shows that you're an engaged business, whether it's on social media or Google or whatever the case might be. Could even be on Yelp, that you're engaged in what your audience is saying and that you're paying attention.
I'm sure half of your DMs are filled with bots if they're anything like ours is, but always make sure you answer your DMs too, because you never know, who's going to be in your DMs. But and also make sure you like, comment, and reshare others' posts and your own posts to your stories and things like that. It'll be really helpful for your engagement.
Yes, I know. That's the biggest thing. Engagement, engagement, engagement. You could put out one post a month, and as long as you're engaging with your audience, you're still going to see an increase in your visibility. Because anytime there's comments going back and forth, that post is going to reappear for people.
Yes.
I think a lot don't realize that.
Yep. Another important aspect of this is hashtags. How many hashtags should you be using? And we have some recommendations, but obviously you can do whatever works for your brand. For Facebook, we would say 2 to 3, but no more than 5. Instagram, we would say 3 to 5 seems to be the ideal range. They have a limit of 30, and we used to do all 30, but then we realized that it's kind of going out of style in a way, and you should be using fewer hashtags that describe your post in fewer words. And we found that honestly to be the better way to go right now.
I would definitely agree with that. And I think, everyone's saying, oh, pick the hashtags that have the most people
Yeah.
engaging with that hashtag, but not necessarily. Pick some that might be, over 1 million, some that are in the mid 100,000 range, like maybe sitting around, 500,000, and then some that are 100,000 or less. I think just kind of mixing it up is really going to help you with the visibility that you're seeing there.
Yes, you'll be able to reach, broad and niche groups. So I think you'll get a larger reach with that.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn, we would say up to 3. Twitter, we would say no more than 2. YouTube is about 3 to 5. They do have a limit of 15, but again, we would stay on the lower end. TikTok is around 3 to 6, and Pinterest is 3 to 4, and they also have a limit of 20.
Yes, I
Um,
think, it's really important for people to do their hashtag research as part of this too. So don't just pick random ones that describe your post. See which ones are performing well, which ones don't. Even doing a quick Google search will show you which ones to use sometimes, honestly. But just make sure that you're paying attention to the hashtags that you're using and switch it up if you need to. Do it.
yeah.
Sometimes it's trial and error, and it's not always going to work the same for each post.
Yeah. So another topic we have to talk about is free social media tools. So there are a bunch of ones that you can use to get your business started, and one that we really like is Metricool. So this is what we use for scheduling posts, reviewing analytics. You can respond to your comments and DMs from there, and you can create smart links that you can add into your bios. So overall, we just think it's a really great platform to use. But there are others like Hootsuite, Later, and the Meta Business Suite for Facebook and Instagram. And almost all of them have a way to schedule out your posts in advance, even LinkedIn and YouTube. But they all have their pros and cons.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's really just finding one that works best for you. Like we said, we enjoy Metricool, but I have, colleagues that would prefer later, or some of them use like Sprout Social, for example. I think it comes down to what works best for you and what works best for your budget. Another thing we want to talk about is paid ads as well. So while we prefer to promote organic social media, and I know we talked about that in the last episode, we also understand that there is power in paid advertising. So we recommend that you start small and track your results. So even with a small budget, you can experiment with paid advertising on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Google Ads. Start with a small investment. You don't need to throw a ton of money at this to begin with. Figure out what works and what doesn't, and closely track the results. And from there, you can increase your budget as you feel comfortable. But I mean, again, even doing something where it's $5 a day, don't feel like you have to break the bank as you're just getting started with it. And really just targeting your audience effectively. So, I mean, going back to that, don't waste your money on broad targeting. Utilize the powerful audience targeting options available on most of these platforms to help you really reach your ideal customer. And then also focusing on the conversion optimization. A great ad is only going to be half the battle. So ensure that your website or landing page is optimized for conversions to maximize the return on your ad spend. And I think that, that'll really help you see even just a small budget go pretty far.
So, kind of going along with that, I think targeting your audience effectively is most important, and you can do this by your content and what you create. So, it's important to create engaging content, like blog posts, articles, social media posts, email campaigns. Those are all great and work for practically any industry. A lot of ones that people have been liking recently have been like the behind the scenes, testimonials, user generated content, frequently asked questions, giveaways, blogs, tutorials, stuff like that has been, really, really impactful, I think, for the younger generations. And honestly, everyone really enjoys that. So I think those are good starting points with people who are struggling to figure out what to post on social media. A question we get asked a lot is, how can I determine what my audience is interested in? So there's a really cool and free tool that you can use to get a better understanding of what your audience is looking for or based on your brand's keywords. We don't get paid to promote this, I promise, but we just think it's a really cool tool that everyone should know about. The website is answerthepublic.com.
And once you go to that webpage where it says discover what people are asking about, type in a keyword that relates to your business. Once you do that, you can then refine your search by country, since what you're looking for in the US might be very different from what someone in the UK might be looking for. So once you click search, it's going to bring up the most commonly asked questions related to that keyword. And the redder that the circle is next to the phrase, the better, as that means it's a more widely searched topic. So under the free plan, you get one search per day, which honestly should be more than enough to keep the content ideas flowing. But now, instead of guessing what your audience wants to see or know, you have the data to help you find and plan your content accordingly. I think that this was such a great tool to me as I was starting off in the marketing world. I mean, again, back then you didn't have things like SEMrush, and even just your Google searches weren't as involved as they are now. But I think that this just gives you such a quick and detailed and free way to figure out what your audience wants to see or what they're looking for. And you don't really have to guess about what type of content you need to prepare for them.
Yep. I think another tool that you can use is repurposing old content or just repurposing content in general across different platforms for your company. So, for example, you can turn a blog post into social media snippets or captions, or you could take snippets like 7 to 30-second clip of video from either a YouTube video or whatever and use it as a short or a TikTok. So it'll draw your audience back into the full video.
Yes, I have found that that seems to be a really great way to create quick content for people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of clients that are like, I don't have time to be creating videos constantly, but even just one long form video, we can create, I mean, how many clips
Yes,
out of that? So
exactly.
repurpose. And I think another thing that's important too is talking about user generated content. So a lot of people hear this word, they don't necessarily know what it means, but it's a way to create original brand specific content. And honestly, it's not even created by you. It's created by the customer, and it's at no cost to the brand. So it's different than hiring an influencer. It's kind of like its own little animal. But I know you've written some blog posts about this. Do you want to talk a little more about it so that people can understand what this actually means?
Yes. So it gets published on social media and other channels and can come in many forms. So this could be images, videos, reviews, testimonials. 85% of people say user generated content is more influential than content made by brands directly. And why is this important? It creates one, authenticity. We can see through polished marketing facades. It creates a real, relatable feel, which helps build trust and brand loyalty. It also helps with community. People crave belonging and connection, so it fosters a sense of community where they can share experiences and feel a part of something bigger. Social proof. Social proof. Your audience, especially millennials and Gen Z, values peer recommendations over traditional advertising. So seeing others use and enjoy a product is a powerful endorsement. And lastly, as an influence, think of these as micro influencers. So sharing user generated content allows them to express their individuality and influence others as well.
Yes. And I think it's really important to note too that user generated content and a sponsored post are two very different things.
Yeah.
So a sponsored post might say paid partnership or hashtag ad to disclose that they're receiving some form of compensation. So whether it's in the form of money or free products or whatever the case might be. But user generated content, on the other hand, is done free of charge and is just a happy customer talking about a product or products that they love. So it really does create this way for individuals to just feel empowered to tell their own stories about the brand versus that brand dictating what the narrative is going to look like. Just feels a
Yep,
little more authentic, I guess, in my opinion.
I definitely agree. And individuals get a platform to express themselves and connect with others, which is obviously the goal.
Yes. And we've written a couple blog posts about this in the past. So if you're looking for more details on it, visit our website and we talk more about user generated content, especially as it relates to millennials and Gen Z.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about this next one. We get asked about this a lot. It is email marketing on a budget. So people often wonder why email marketing is even important. So I guess I look at it this way. So popular social media platforms are always changing. So they're forcing you to rebuild your audience on each platform over time. Um, the subscriber count might fluctuate on each of those platforms as you're going through that rebuild. The way I look at it is if you have an email marketing list, that pretty much stays consistent over time. You don't have to worry about rebuilding it. Of course, you're going to have people that unsubscribe, you're going to have new subscribers, but for the most part, you've got a consistent base there that you don't have to worry about rebuilding anytime, say, MySpace is no longer a thing and now you're moving over to Facebook. But it's really good about building relationships, it drives sales, and it keeps your brand front of mind. So using email marketing you know, and social media at the same time, between the two of them, leading back to your website, that's a huge driving force right there. So it is a really important piece of your marketing that people often they overlook because they think it's going to be expensive and they don't realize that there are actually free ways that you can go about doing it.
Yeah, there are definitely some email marketing services that have free plans. So Mailchimp is one of them, ConvertKit, HubSpot, MailerLite, and Sender. But obviously, this does limit you a bit. So some of them only offer like this X number of sends a month, or there's some features you can't access. So do keep that in mind. And although free is great, sometimes it is okay to pay for what you want. So for example, we personally love Flowdesk. They don't offer a free plan, but it isn't as all-encompassing as HubSpot or Mailchimp, but we also didn't need all those features either. Super user-friendly and allows us to even set up a checkout feature if you need it, and keeps your analytics front and center.
Yes, I do. I do think this is a great platform for those who don't need all of the features that you might find in a HubSpot account or in a MailChimp account. Maybe you want to keep it quick and light and you just need something that's user friendly. I think that Flowdesk is a really great option. Yes, it does have a cost associated with it, but we also have in our link in bio, there is a 50% off your first year if you sign up for Flowdesk, which honestly helps just alleviate the cost a little bit. I'm all about getting a deal whenever I can. So,
Yes.
and then there's plenty of other free tools and resources out there. I think the big one is Google My Business. For local businesses, this truly is a necessary feature. It helps to improve your discoverability in search results. It drives traffic right to your website. It allows consumers to leave reviews for you. And it's just make sure that you have one. It's free. Just set one up.
Yep. Another one that we've talked about plenty is Canva. We love Canva. You can create high quality visuals for social media, marketing materials from by hand or from existing templates. There's so many templates to choose from, which is awesome. The free version obviously limits what you can do, but it's not too expensive if you decide to upgrade and if you decide you like it.
Yeah. And I think Canva has become such a great tool. Of course, on our end, we use Adobe, but we also use Canva too. So it's created this area where we can share everything that we're working on right with our clients. And they can go in and they can edit text, and then they have access to that template moving forward. So it just has created this great way to collaborate with those who might not have access to Adobe or, similar softwares.
Yep.
It's also important to note all of the free webinars and online courses that you have access to. So most don't realize there's tons of free educational resources available online to learn really not just marketing, but all areas of your business. I'd recommend checking out places like HubSpot Academy, or if you already have a premium LinkedIn account, check out the courses that are offered there as well. Both have proven to be great options and great resources. And there's really a ton that you can choose from in there. Again, not just related to marketing, it's across the board. So you can also find, some that are reasonably priced. Just be careful. Here's one thing that I've noticed, and Skylar, I'm sure you've seen it as well. The amount of people that they throw up these ads and it's like, download my resource of pretty much like a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
And they're all over the place. Everyone claims that they're an expert these days. Just do your research before purchasing any courses.
Yep. And, there are a lot of free or very reasonably priced resources available. So you just have to look for them, and I'm sure you'll find plenty of them out there.
Absolutely. And I think that's all for today. I mean, just to quickly recap everything that we've gone over, we know we threw a lot of information at you just now, but by incorporating these strategies, your small business can really stick to your budget while still developing a successful marketing strategy. I think the goal here is to achieve growth that helps your business succeed without breaking the bank. So really just focus on being patient, being consistent, use the resources that are available to you. And once you reach a point where you're able to do so, just know that, myself and Skylar, we're here to help you whenever you need us. So use us as a resource.
Yep. Well, that concludes today's episode. So be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media as well. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And if you're looking for free or discounted marketing softwares, check out the link in our Instagram bio for more. The handle is at skccreative_. And you can also find additional downloadable content there as well, like our daily task tracker for social media and a weekly planner.
See you later.
See you later.